Nothing you're about to hear should be taken as or used in place of medical advice. If you resemble anything you hear, contact your doctor. If you want to know what Walgreens thinks, ask them, because we don't know. Please wait behind the line for privacy.
You're listening to the Pharmacist Answers podcast. I'm Cynthia, the pharmacist, and today you'll get your questions answered and your curiosity cured. Your skin makes something really, really important for you. That really, really important thing is vitamin D. Vitamin D, your body uses in a lot of places, and what they're kind of finding out as a modern society, because a lot of our jobs and a lot of our habits and hobbies are keeping us inside instead of outside, that a larger population is actually deficient in vitamin D, and it's becoming more important to supplement. They've kind of known that for a while to start with, because a lot of foods are fortified with vitamin D, like milk is fortified with vitamin D, juices and cereals are fortified with vitamin D. So they've kind of known that it's important, but even with the fortified foods, finding out that a large population is deficient in vitamin D is kind of surprising. There's two places that you get vitamin D. Well, there's two types of vitamin D, and they have numbers attached to them, vitamin D2 and D3. D2 is a plant-based vitamin D, so plants that can actually make their own vitamin D. When you then eat those foods, you peeking over my shoulder, you absorb that from the dietary source. Vitamin D that is fortified in foods is usually vitamin D2, and then you can buy vitamin D regularly, like over the counter in a supplement, and sometimes it's a combination and sometimes it's just one or the other. Then the other form is vitamin D3, and that is the animal version of vitamin D that you make yourself and other animals make. And so you can absorb vitamin D from animal products, some, but your body makes a majority of it for yourself, specifically in your skin. So, vitamin D production. If you didn't know already or haven't been told recently, the living and dividing cells of your body, their membranes, are made of cholesterol. So, cholesterol in that respect is really good because it helps build the membranes of your body. She's pulling my ponytail. They build the cell membranes of your body to help keep it nice and fluid and squishy so they can let things in and out, and so then if they get smushed, they don't get really damaged. So vitamin D is actually a fat-soluble vitamin. So what will happen in your epidermis, the sunlight comes in a wave, specifically the UV light, and more specifically UVB light. It'll wave through your skin and it'll get to these cells, and as it tickles some of that cholesterol in your cell membranes, that cholesterol will break away and turn into something else. And that something else has a really big, long chemical name, and that's not really important. But as that, stop pulling my hair. Okay, so as it gets tickled by the UV light and breaks off and starts its reaction, that loose floating changed cholesterol molecule will float down through the other layers of the skin, trying to get to your bloodstream. And so as it's doing all of its traveling, it's still things are still kind of happening to it. Kind of think of like the Hulk. The transformation kind of doesn't happen all instantaneously, but the transformation takes a little bit of time for him to like fully transform into the Hulk, okay? Travels down. Please don't be fussy. Please don't be fussy. It travels down to get to your bloodstream, and its final resting place and its final transformation is going to be vitamin D3. And that process takes about 12 hours for once it's tickled by the UV light and it starts traveling and transforming. 12 hours later, it's going to be vitamin D3. And vitamin D3 is called calcitriol. That's why it's vitamin D3, because it's triol, okay? And that just means that it has like 3 alcohols on it that can like do stuff. So, but that's why it's a 3 versus the calcidiol, which is the 2, vitamin D2, because it's di, that means 2, if you needed some biochemistry in there. We hear a lot about it when it comes to that you need vitamin D to help for the wintertime blues, or you need vitamin D because it helps with your bones, and a lot of that is true. So 2 main jobs of vitamin D that you need to know about. One has to do with your bones. Vitamin D has 2 different jobs to help with your bone health. Vitamin D will hang out in your intestines. And remember when I talked about how the cells in your skin, when they're in the bottom layer, they have the code to become a certain type of cell, and they have a code to make a certain type of protein? In your intestines, your vitamin D has the job of telling the cell to make a certain type of protein. So vitamin D will say, hey, intestine cells, you need to make some boats to help carry calcium, and you need to make some boats to help carry phosphorus. And the cell will go through its little process of using the code and making those proteins. So then when you eat foods with calcium, or you take vitamins, and you eat foods with phosphorus, then those boats are ready in the intestines, and the calcium will be like, oh, hey, look, a boat that I can ride in. And it'll get in the boat, and then the little boat will ride it across through the intestines to then dump that calcium into your bloodstream for your body to be able to use it in other places. So if you didn't have the vitamin D, then the intestines wouldn't know that it needed to make boats for calcium to get the calcium from the food to your blood, or the phosphorus from your food to your blood. And that can be a big deal, because calcium does a lot of things, specifically for our bones, but it does other things for like muscle health and electric transmission and stuff like that. So vitamin D tells your small intestines to make the little protein boats to help carry the calcium from the food you eat to your bloodstream so it can be used in other places. The second place that vitamin D gets focused on calcium is at your bones. And in your bones, your vitamin D works with a hormone made by your parathyroid gland, which is called parathyroid hormone, which is responsible for a lot of things with your bones. We'll talk about that on another day because it's complicated. But vitamin D and parathyroid hormone, they work together in your bones. This is completely separate from where your intestines are, but it does the same thing. They work together and say, hey, we need some boats to be able to get the calcium out of the blood and put it in the bones. So it tells the cells, hey, we need some calcium boats. And so the cell will make some calcium boats. And so from the blood, the calcium gets in the boat and rides and goes and gets attached to the bones. Your bones, your teeth, those kinds of places. So without the vitamin D, then the calcium is just floating around in the blood going, I wonder where I need to go today. But there's no boat for it to ride in if the vitamin D isn't there to tell the cells attached to your bones that it needs to make boats to carry the calcium. So that's the 2 places that vitamin D helps with your bone health. One, you got to be able to get the calcium out of the food that you eat into your blood. And then once it's in your blood for your body to be able to use it, you got to get the calcium from your blood to the places that it needs to go. So vitamin D helps make calcium boats. Think of it that way. That's like plain English. There's like some scientific biological terms and you could learn those too, but that's just, there's no sense in that. The second place that vitamin D is really important that I kind of just learned about today. It's like I learned it in school and I learned it, but like there's not a whole lot of information about it. The calcium and the vitamin D thing for your bones is like big, loud, mainstream message that a lot of people hear. But what they don't tell you is that vitamin D is also very important for your immune system. So the number one thing that people tell you need to take for your immune system. Do you know what they are? You probably do. You can probably tell me. Vitamin C and zinc. If you start getting a cold, you need to take vitamin C and you need to take zinc. And they tell you all these things. And then they'll tell you like some herbal things that probably contain vitamin C and zinc. But that's like the things that they just blast in your brain. These are the things you're supposed to take to help boost your immune system so you don't catch a cold. Okay? But vitamin D is also very important for our immune system. And what vitamin D does for your immune system, the process is called cell differentiation. So you have a cell, specifically an immune system cell, and it's like, hey, what's up? And it senses that there's something bad in your body, and so it needs to go on attack and get rid of it so it doesn't make your body sick. Vitamin D inside these immune system cells helps it know which type of code it needs to translate so it can become a certain type of immune system cell. So the three types of immune system cells, there's the B cells, there's the T cells, and then there's the macrophages. And macrophages are usually the easiest ones to remember because they're the ones that are like Pac-Man and they see like something bad and they just like gobble it up and like absorb it and dissolve it inside. T cells are like the killer cells, so they actually like have the things to go in and like kill bacteria, so then they can't replicate or they just apoptose and die. T cells are usually the thing that gets most affected by like the HIV virus, because if you don't have virus killers floating around, then it's safe because all of the killers are gone. Okay, so vitamin D inside these immune system cells will tell the cell which one of those three it needs to become based on the type of infection or offender that is found in the body, and then based on what kind of job that needs to be done. So I read an article today, and this is like really new news to me, even though the article I read was like in an immunology journal. So it was like lots of science and lots of big words, but they have found that certain types of infections actually can make your body less sensitive to the vitamin D, so then the vitamin D can't do its job to help the immune system be more efficient. So if it stops that process that the vitamin D does, then just like the HIV virus kills the T cells in the immune system, so then like it can just go and do whatever it wants to do. Other types of infection are kind of learning to do the same thing in that vitamin D process, because so then that way they're not at as big of risk of being taken out by your own body. So in my mind, I translate that to, well, if my immune system and it being really efficient at keeping me healthy and fighting off sickness is dependent on vitamin D telling my cells what job they need to do, then maybe I need to boost my vitamin D for my immune system versus just my vitamin C and my zinc. That's my thought. I probably need to do some more research on it, but I was really excited to learn that today. So, vitamin D. Your skin makes it. Your skin makes vitamin D for you. While we don't spend a whole lot of time out in the sun to get a huge amount of vitamin D, the fact that vitamin D is important for our immune system kind of makes more sense of why we get less colds in the summer and more colds in the winter. There's a lot of other things that cause us to get more colds in the winter as well, but not having a super efficient immune system in the wintertime due to a lack of vitamin D might be part of that complication for us having more sickness during the winter than during the summer. Just a thought. This is all my speculation. Deductive reasoning. it's a good mental practice. So vitamin D, made by your skin. So balancing out the sun exposure to get vitamin D made and activated by your skin versus too much sun exposure that then like obliterates your cells and causes them to die or causes you to get wrinkles or causes cells to like freak out and become cancerous. There's a fine balance in between. And trying to maintain that balance with all of the other things that we know that can be so bad for us is kind of difficult. And that's why if you're prone to skin problems, especially skin diseases like cancer that can like kill you, taking vitamin D supplements is probably the best option versus trying to get it from the sunlight, because you can get both types of vitamin D's in supplements when you need them. Oh my goodness, she's asleep. There you go, baby girl. Bye, sleepy baby. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Pharmacist Answers podcast. The pharmacy is now closed. You can post your questions and comments on our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/pharmanswerspod. Or you can email the show at pharmacistanswershere@gmail.com. You can tweet me or message me on Twitter at @SinHendrix. You can find the show notes at pharmacistanswershere.wordpress.com. Pharmacist Answers broadcasts live on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday at 9:02 a.m. Eastern Time on the Periscope app. You can follow me at SinHendrix or view in your web browser at periscope.tv/SinHendrix. See you next time on the Pharmacist Answers podcast.